Let's go back in time. Imagine a world where every single flash of lightning is a spear thrown by a god, where an earthquake isn't a geological event but the rage of some deity shaking the ground beneath your feet. For most of human history, you didn't have to imagine it. That was the explanation for everything. The world was just one big story, written and directed by powerful and honestly pretty unpredictable gods.
And this wasn't just one culture's idea. You look everywhere, from the earliest Greek poets to the grand mythologies of Egypt and Babylon, and you see the same thing. The origin of the world was always some kind of divine drama. These two great sea gods, Oceanus and Tethys, were said to have birthed all of creation. These weren't scientific theories, not even close. They were sacred stories that explained our place in a really mysterious cosmos.
But then, about 2,600 years ago, a completely new question starts to echo from the shores of the Mediterranean. And this question, well, it was so profound, so revolutionary, it would change the entire path of human thought. What if the answers we're looking for aren't up in the heavens with the gods? What if they're right here, all around us, just waiting to be discovered?
So our story kicks off in a place called Miletus. It was a thriving Greek colony, right on the coast of what is now Turkey. And you've got to understand, this was not some sleepy, quiet town. It was a vibrant crossroads of cultures, goods, and most importantly, ideas. You had sailors, merchants, and thinkers from Egypt, Lydia, and Babylon all mixing together. And in this amazing melting pot, one man started connecting the dots in a way that nobody had before. His name was Thales.
So who was this guy? Well, Thales wasn't just some abstract thinker locked away in a room. The ancient world revered him as one of the 7 sages, basically the wisest man of his time. He was a true polymath, an engineer, a brilliant mathematician, and astronomer. This mix of practical, real-world skill and deep intellectual influence made him the perfect person to kickstart a revolution in how we think. And here's where it gets really interesting. Thales didn't just offer a new answer. He changed the question we ask about the world. See, before him, everyone was asking, who created the world? Was it Zeus? Was it some other god? Thales comes along and asks something totally different. What is the world made of? He was searching for a single underlying substance, a rational explanation for the incredible diversity we see all around us.
The Greeks had a word for this idea, the arche. Now, the arche isn't just the beginning, like a starting gun going off. It's the permanent, foundational reality that's underneath all the change. It's the one thing behind the many things. Let me put it this way. What's the single common denominator for a tree, a rock, a cloud, and you? That's the arche that Thales was looking for.
So what was his incredible, world-changing answer? Water. Now hold on, I know what you're probably thinking. Water? Seriously? That's it? But you have to understand, the genius here wasn't in the specific answer. It was in the kind of answer it was. For the first time ever, someone proposed that the fundamental principle of everything wasn't a god, but a natural, observable substance. This was the moment science was born. And why did he pick water? Well, it wasn't a random guess. The guy was just a really keen observer. He looked around and noticed that all life seems to need moisture. The food we eat is moist. The seeds that grow into plants are moist. He even noticed that warmth and steam, heat itself, seemed to come from moisture. It was a totally logical conclusion based on what he could see with his own 2 eyes. If water is essential for all life, then maybe it's the source of all things. So from this one idea, Thales builds a physical model of the entire cosmos. He proposed that the Earth is a flat disk that's literally floating on a giant ocean. And again, this wasn't just some wild story. It was a way to explain other stuff. Like, what causes earthquakes? It's not an angry Poseidon anymore. No, it's just the natural rocking of the water that the Earth is resting on. A natural cause for a natural event. See the ship?
But here's the thing. Thales didn't just sit around thinking about the universe. He took this same rational, logical method and applied it to solve some incredibly practical problems, which is really what sealed his reputation as a true genius.
You know, it's funny. There are these 2 famous and totally contradictory stories about him. In one, told by Plato, he's the classic absent-minded professor. He's so busy staring up at the stars that he falls right into a well and a servant girl just laughs at him. But in another story, from Aristotle, he's this brilliant strategist. He wanted to prove that philosophy had practical value, so he used his knowledge of weather to predict a massive olive harvest. He then quietly bought up all the olive presses in the area, and when the harvest hit, he made an absolute fortune renting them out.
His practical genius is probably best shown in this story. How in the world do you measure the height of the Great Pyramid with no advanced tools? Thales' solution was just stunningly elegant. He figured out that at the exact moment his own shadow was the same length as his body, the pyramid's shadow would have to be the same length as its height. He turned a massive problem into a simple measurement just by understanding a basic geometric principle. Incredible.
And his genius wasn't just practical, it was foundational. He's credited with at least 5 huge theorems in geometry. And this was revolutionary because he wasn't just using geometry to build things. He was one of the first to insist on proving why these geometric rules worked using pure logic. He was turning math from just a collection of useful tricks into a rigorous, logical system. And then there's his most legendary feat. The historian Herodotus tells us that Thales actually predicted a solar eclipse right down to the year it would happen. And sure enough, on May 28, 585 BC, right in the middle of a fierce battle, the sky went dark. The warring armies were so terrified by this that they immediately stopped fighting and declared a truce. Whether he used Babylonian charts or it was a bit of luck, the message was powerful. The cosmos isn't just random. It's a predictable, understandable system.
So when you put it all together, the search for a natural cause, the application of pure logic, the belief in a predictable universe, you start to realize the immense scale of what he did. Thales didn't just discover a few facts, he forged a completely new lens for us to see reality through.
Look, at the end of the day, his theory that everything is water was wrong. We know that. But it absolutely does not matter. His real legacy wasn't the answer he gave. It was the revolutionary idea that the universe is a solvable puzzle, that it operates on consistent, discoverable principles, and that we, using our own reason and observation, actually have the power to figure it all out.
By being the first to suggest that the wild, dizzying variety of the world could all be explained by a single principle, Thales laid the foundation for the next 2,600 years of science and philosophy. Every single scientist looking for a grand unified theory, every philosopher exploring the nature of reality, they're all walking down a path that was first cleared by Thales of Miletus.
He's the one who taught us that the world, at its core, is understandable. He replaced the whims of the gods with natural laws and handed us the tools of reason and observation. And that leaves us with the same thrilling challenge he first took on. If the universe really is a solvable puzzle, what great mystery will we, his intellectual heirs, decide to solve next?
If a question made you stop and think, take one more second. Philosophy doesn't give easy answers, it teaches you how to ask better questions. Like the video if you enjoy thinking. Follow Philosophy LM and keep searching together.